I used to believe I understood what stability felt like. Not the glamorous kind, the quiet kind. The kind built from morning rituals, shared meals, soft laughter, a hand reaching for yours in the dark. For 3 years, that had been my life with Matthew Carter, my boyfriend. At least I thought it was. That night, the night everything cracked open, started like any other. And maybe that's what hurts the most in hindsight, how ordinary it all seemed. I remember pouring the dark roast coffee into Matthew's favorite mug, the chipped ceramic one, with the cactus illustration he swore brought him luck. I made it how he liked it, too strong for me, almost harsh, softened only with a splash of oat milk. I set it next to his keys on the counter, one of 1,000 tiny rituals that weaved our years together. 3 years. 3 years of noticing the way he tapped his fingers when excited, of memorizing the warm hum he made, while designing, of learning his entire emotional vocabulary through quiet observation. 3 years of thinking we were building something together. Our apartment was a living archive of those years. The agreeable gray walls that he made fun of me for choosing the IKEA bookshelf we assembled, while laughing about how two educated adults could be defeated by wooden dowels. The framed beach photo where my head rested on his shoulder. A moment that looked like happiness, and at the time felt like it. I'd been the stable one, a predictable job, steady income, reliable habits. Matthew was the creative one, a freelance designer whose paychecks came in like unpredictable weather. I'd covered rent more times than he realized, cooked when he was overwhelmed, kept the structure so he could chase dreams freely. Because when you're a team, you become the net beneath each other's leaps, or so I believed. Just last month, I'd received acceptance to the MBA program I'd worked toward for years. I remember showing him the email, my heart pounding with pride and fear. Matthew smiled, kissed my cheek, and asked softly, "But is now really the right time? Things are still shaky with my clients, babe. Maybe wait a year, we have plenty of time." We two letters I cherish now, echoing with irony. But I agreed. I shoved my dreams, because that's what you do when you think you're building a future with someone. Looking back, the signs were there. In the quiet moments, he thought I wasn't paying attention. The sighs he let out when I talked about my friends. His jokes about my routines, meal prepping, monthly budgeting, calling them predictable. The increasing nights out with coworkers I'd never met. That distant vibrancy in his eyes whenever he spoke about them. But love is a powerful blindfold. I trusted him. I trusted us. So when he texted me at 4:37 p.m., that Friday evening, "Matthew, big project, win drinks at the Overlook on 5th. Whole team's going. Come. I want to show you off." I felt warm all over. He didn't always include me in work events. A part of me bloomed at the invitation. I got caught at work finishing a client incident report, so by the time I reached the rooftop bar, twilight had settled over the city like a soft blanket. The place was buzzing house music, laughter, clinking glasses. Spotlights shimmered against glass railings and designer blazers. And then I saw him, Matthew, radiant in the center of a circle of coworkers, gesturing animatedly, drink in hand. A little sun in his own small solar system. I felt pride tug at my heart. That's my boyfriend. I was weaving through the crowd, smiling unconsciously, ready to tap his shoulder, when a shift in the crowd nudged me behind a massive potted fern, perched on a raised platform just 3 feet from his group. Hidden close enough that their voices might as well have been piped directly into my ears. I was about to step out when a woman with sharp eyeliner and a severe blonde bob asked, "So Matthew, be honest, are you, and what's her name, Rebecca? Are things getting serious?" 3 years is a long time. Matthew took a slow sip, smirk tugging at his lips. "Serious?" He laughed, the light, airy kind he only used when trying to impress. "God, no. I mean, she's nice, comfortable, but serious. Not really." The world around me froze. Before I could even process that first blow, another coworker, tall guy in a blue shirt, chimed in. "So what's the deal then? You guys live together, right?" Matthew shrugged, lowering his voice just enough to sound conspiratorial, but loud enough for them to catch. "The deal is, I'm basically single. Rebecca's just convenient for now." The words didn't just hurt. They rewrote my reality. Convenient. Basically single. Comfortable. He wasn't finished. You know how it is. She pays for half a great apartment, She fixes things, handles boring stuff, keeps everything running. She doesn't expect much. It's a placeholder situation. A hollow buzzing filled my ears. My stomach dropped. My heart didn't break, it shut down. Then he added, I'm keeping my options open. Have you seen Lauren from the animation team? Now that's potential. A girl like that on the back of a motorcycle, Rebecca would probably faint. They all laughed, every single one of them. It rang out like glass shattering. I stared at him, at the stranger wearing my boyfriend's face, using his voice tearing apart our life with casual cruelty. A performance, a sacrifice of me for his social clout. I didn't step forward. I didn't scream. I didn't even breathe. My phone buzzed in my hand, but I couldn't move. Something inside me, the part that once reached for his hand in the dark, went cold, then quiet. After a moment that stretched forever, I simply turned around. No fight. No confrontation, just a clean, absolute pivot. I walked out of the rooftop bar, through the buzzing lights and laughter, down the stairs, out into the night air that felt like a slap of clarity. Matthew didn't see me leave. None of them did. And maybe that was the clearest sign of all. I don't know how long I walked that night. Blocks, maybe miles, maybe moments. The city glowed around me. Neon signs, passing car strangers, conversations drifting like static. But everything felt muted, like I was underwater. My body moved on autopilot while my mind replayed his words in an endless loop. Basically single, convenient placeholder. I didn't cry. Shock has a way of sealing every emotion in ice. By the time I reached our apartment building, my feet ached and my throat burned with unsaid things. The lobby smelled like jasmine and floor polish, familiar, stable, cruel. I took the elevator up, stepping into the hallway we had walked 1,000 times. The same framed prints, the same soft hum of the HVAC vents. My hands were steady as I unlocked the door, the same steadiness you feel right before you pull off a bandage. Inside the apartment was warm, dimly lit by the small lamp we always left on, so Matthew wouldn't stumble into furniture after late work nights. It felt wrong in a way I couldn't articulate, like stepping into a stage set of someone else's life. I didn't stand there long. I didn't wander or slump or collapse. I moved with purpose I didn't know I had. I went straight to the storage closet and pulled out my 2 suitcases. The cardboard boxes we kept for future moves felt symbolic now, foreshadowing I'd ignored. I started packing. Not frantically, not angrily, methodically. I began in the bedroom. Our bedroom opening the closet to see our lives hanging side by side. His side was chaotic shirts, unevenly hung, a few fallen to the floor, a tangle of ties. My side was neat lines and folded sweaters. I slid my shirts off of the hangers one by one, folding each, precisely placing them in the suitcase, like I was laying bricks in a foundation for a new life. No rushed movements, no shaking hands, just quiet, absolute finality. My mind whispered things as I worked. He said you were convenient. Convenience doesn't get to break you. Leave the illusion. Keep yourself. I packed my jeans, my blouses, my sneakers worn from years of city walks. I left the dress Matthew always said made me look responsible. I didn't want to carry anything he'd branded with his commentary. In the bathroom, I took my toothbrush, my skincare set, the perfume bottle Matthew bought me last birthday, the same one he bragged about gifting me to his coworkers. I left the towel we argued about. Some endings didn't need souvenirs. From the living room, I faced the bookshelf we built together. I took my books, my project management guides, my dog-eared novels. I left his design anthologies, his graphic novels, the pop psychology titles he claimed inspired his creativity. Then came the photo frame. Us on the beach, cheeks touching sun glaring off the water. A moment that once felt pure. I didn't smash it. I didn't throw it away. I just turned it face down. Some memories don't deserve dramatic endings, just quiet burials. 2 hours later, the apartment looked like a ghost story. Empty hooks, bare shelves, spaces where my life used to fill the gaps my presence erased. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we once planned trips we never took, where he once told me his dreams felt safer with me around. There was no safety left. I pulled out a sheet of our good stationery. The pen felt heavy, like it knew this moment mattered. I didn't write a tearful confession. No explanations, no pleas, just truth. Matthew, you're not basically single anymore. You just are. Rebecca. I placed the note gently beside the fruit bowl, the one he always meant to restock, but never did. Inside was a single shriveled lemon. Fitting. I set my apartment key beside the note. A final small sound. A soft goodbye. I did one last walk through. Bedroom, bathroom, living room. Nothing of mine remained but the hollowness I left behind. Then I walked out. I closed the door quietly. No slamming, no theatrics. I didn't look back, not once. In the hallway, the lights hummed softly, indifferent to endings. The elevator opened with a gentle ding, as if welcoming me into the next chapter without comment. Downstairs, I ordered a rideshare to a nearby hotel. When I stepped into the room, plain beige walls, a generic painting, crisp sheets. It felt like stepping into a blank page. Perfect. I dropped the suitcases and sat on the bed. No TV, no music, just the quiet hum of nothing. And for the first time since hearing his voice behind that fern, I exhaled a long, slow breath. I wasn't fine. I wasn't shattered. I was suspended, hovering between who I'd been and who I needed to become. For 2 days, I existed in that void. I turned my phone off, a blackout from the world. I slept deeply, ordered overpriced room service, stared at the city through the window, let the stillness seep into my bones. There were no tears, no screaming, just a vast, echoing quiet. The calm after a bomb, the silence right before you rebuild. On the morning of the 3rd day, I finally turned my phone back on. It exploded with notifications, calls, voicemails, messages, 7 missed calls from Matthew. I pressed play on the first voicemail. "Rebecca, where are you? Are you stuck at work? Just call me." His tone was irritated, not concerned. The next voicemail, angrier, confused, demanding answers. Then the texts. "Matthew, what is this? Are you having a breakdown? Matthew, this is dramatic even for you. Matthew, is this about what I said at the bar? You heard that? Seriously, it was just work talk. Stop being oversensitive. Matthew, call me now." I listened. I read, and I felt nothing. Just a distant clinical interest, as if I were observing a predictable creature in a glass cage. His anger didn't surprise me. His defensiveness didn't move me. Only one thought surfaced. This is the first sign of the power shifting. He shouts into the void, and I don't shout back. The silence between us grew larger, heavier, undeniable, and I intended to keep it that way. Silence is lie. You see why I load much louder than I ever realized. Matthew had always filled every pause with noise, explanations, excuses, jokes, ego, insecurity. But now, it was just him screaming into a void that refused to echo back. And I have to admit, watching the shift happen was like watching a storm drain its own power. For the first week, Matthew's messages were frantic, erratic, swinging between blame and pleading like a metronome losing rhythm. "Matthew, you can't just leave. That's insane. We live together. You owe me a conversation." Then minutes later, Matthew. "Okay, look, maybe I went too far. You shouldn't take work talk so seriously." As if he hadn't dismantled our entire relationship with a smirk and a joke about being basically single. By week 2, his tone panicked. "Matthew, Rebecca, please." I didn't mean any of it. I was just showing off. You know how it is. You will always know how to calm me down. You always ground me. I need you. I read them all with the same numb detachment. Every apology felt like a performance. Every sentence rife of self-preservation. Not remorse, not love. While Matthew unraveled, I was building something new. I signed a short-term lease on a small apartment near the river. 1 bedroom, big window, quiet. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt like mine. The first night there, I slept on an air mattress with 2 blankets and a sense of peace so strange it almost frightened me. For the first time in years, I wasn't holding up someone else's world. I wasn't the net. I wasn't the caretaker. I was simply Rebecca. And that felt radical. Meanwhile, Matthew was living through the consequences he'd always assumed someone else would absorb for him. The gossip at work spread faster than wildfire. People had heard him. Coworkers repeated the story behind his back. Basically single, just convenient. It got back to Lauren, the woman he casually name-dropped as his potential. Apparently, she didn't find it flattering or professional or remotely attractive. Within a week, she stopped speaking to him. He lost the senior role he'd been vying for. Leadership decided he lacked emotional maturity. Sensitive clients shouldn't be handed to someone who bragged about using people. I didn't find this out because Matthew told me. He didn't dare. I heard it from a friend of a friend who worked on the same floor. A woman who sent me a single message. You dodged a bullet. Everyone knows what he said. He embarrassed himself, not you. I stared at that message longer than I should have, not because it hurt, but because it validated the calm I'd been carrying. At the end of week 2, Matthew's mother called me. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was exactly what I expected. Rebecca, this is Diane. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. Matthew is devastated. Be the bigger person and talk to him. He's going through a difficult time. Be the bigger person. The anthem of people who've never been held accountable. I deleted the voicemail. By week 3, Matthew's unraveling turned desperate. Matthew, I can't afford the apartment alone. My mom is on my case. Everyone at work thinks I'm some sort of jerk. This is your fault for not clearing it up. Please come back. Please, I'm begging you. Every message reeked of someone drowning and desperate for a life raft. But I was done being one. He sent photos of our empty apartment boxes stacked. He told me he had to move back in with his parents, and the humiliation in his words was thick. He wasn't apologizing. He was angry that reality was finally handing him a bill he couldn't charm his way out of. By week 4, the desperation curdled. His text turned sharp, venomous, warped by bruised ego. Matthew, you're overreacting. You abandoned me. You're cold and selfish. No wonder I felt single. That line should have pierced me. But instead, a slow smile crept onto my face. Because there it was, the truth he never said aloud. He hadn't felt alone because I failed him. He felt alone because he never saw me as a partner to begin with. And now, he was exactly what he always claimed to be. Basically single. Not by accident, not by convenience. By choice mine. As for me, I was rebuilding in small, quiet ways. I filled my new space with soft lamps and neutral colors tones that brought me peace instead of performance. I tried new routines. Woke up early, went for walks, sat in silence without needing to fill it. I even went sailing with a coworker group one weekend, a hobby I'd never imagined for myself. The wind, the salt, the open blue. It felt like breathing after holding my breath for years. Every step forward made the past feel smaller. By the time week 5 rolled around, Matthew was unrecognizable. Frantic messages, missed calls, long paragraphs of accusations mixed with pleas. His final message came late one night. Matthew, you're heartless. You think you're better than me 3 years, and this is what you do. You walk away without a word. You destroyed us, Rebecca, not me. You're the reason I'm alone. I read it twice, not because it hurt, but because it confirmed everything. He still believed the world revolved around his comfort. Even in heartbreak, he was the victim of a story he wrote. I didn't respond. Not then, not ever. I simply set the phone down on my new kitchen counter, took a sip of tea, and let silence do what it does best. And things cleanly. The thing about healing is that it doesn't arrive with fanfare. No triumphant soundtrack, no cinematic sunrise, just small, ordinary moments where your chest feels lighter than it did the day before. For me, that moment came in the form of a coffee cup. 3 months after leaving Matthew, I'd built a morning ritual at a small cafe near my new office. A place filled with exposed brick, warm lamps, mismatched mugs, and the hushed whispers of students and freelancers. The kind of place no one tried to impress anyone else. The kind of place where people came to exhale. I became a regular. Every morning at 8:15, I'd sit at the same corner table by the window, reviewing project plans, sipping a latte. The barista Riley made without needing to ask for my order. It was a ritual grounded in stability I'd earned, not stability I'd held together for someone else. That morning, sunlight streamed through the glass, painting gold stripes across my open laptop. I had just pulled up photos from that sailing trip, the bright blue water, the spray of salt, the pure freedom of it, when I felt a presence hovering near my table. A shadow cut across my screen. I looked up and time didn't freeze. It didn't break. It simply shifted. Matthew stood there. Except he wasn't the Matthew I remembered. Gone was the confident, charismatic man who held court on rooftops, the man with perfect hair and an easy smirk. This man looked small, shoulders caved inward, eyes ringed with exhaustion, cheeks hollowed. His clothes were slightly wrinkled, a size too big on him. He looked like someone life had chewed on. "Rebecca," he breathed. Not angry, not smug, just fragile. "Matthew?" I answered, my voice calm, steady. The tone you'd use with a neighbor you recognize but hardly know. He hesitated, then gestured toward the empty chair across from me. "Can I sit?" I gave a small, non-committal nod. He slid into the chair like someone expecting the legs to buckle beneath him. There was a long, uncomfortable silence. I watched him try to gather himself, tugging at the sleeves of his jacket, rubbing the back of his neck, glancing up at me, then away again. He wasn't used to me being unreadable. I think that unnerved him. He cleared his throat. "So you've been ignoring me?" I took a slow sip of my latte. "I've been living my life," I said simply. He blinked. That landed harder than I expected. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. "You moved out without talking to me, without giving me a chance to explain. Do you know how brutal that was?" I studied him. The desperation in his eyes wasn't love. It was fear. Fear of consequences. Fear of being alone with himself. "Do you know how brutal it was to hear you call me your placeholder?" I responded softly. He flinched, actually flinched. I didn't mean that, he insisted, voice cracking. "It was a joke. You know I joke when I'm nervous." They were asking questions, and it just came out wrong. I tilted my head. "You called me convenient. You said you were basically single. You talked about Lauren like she was a prize you were waiting to earn." His jaw tightened. "Rebecca, please." I was showing off. Everyone does that. "No," I corrected gently. "Not everyone throws away someone's dignity to impress strangers." He swallowed hard, eyes falling to the table. "This has been hell," he whispered. I moved back in with my parents. Everybody at work knows what happened. Lauren won't even speak to me. They gave the promotion to someone else. "Stacy, can you believe that?" I raised an eyebrow. "Yes," I said. "I can." He stared at me, confusion knitting into hurt. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I replied, keeping my voice level, "that actions have consequences. You showed your workplace exactly who you are. A leader needs integrity, respect, empathy. You didn't demonstrate any of those." For a moment, I thought he might actually cry. He leaned back, hands covering his face. "You sound so cold," he said through his fingers. "I lost everything, Rebecca. Everything. My home, my reputation." "You," his voice trembled. "I lost you." I set my latte down, folding my hands in my lap. "No," I said quietly. "You lost the person you pretended I was." He looked up slowly, eyes glassy. "What does that mean?" "It means," I continued, "you didn't love me. Not really. You loved the version of me that made your life easier. The version that paid bills, managed crises, grounded you, praised you, filled the silence. You loved the convenience." His breath hitched. "That's not true," he whispered. "It is. And you proved it the moment you chose admiration over kindness, attention over commitment, ego over honesty." He opened his mouth, closed it again. There was nothing left for him to argue with. Finally, in a voice so small it barely reached me, "So that's it. After everything we had, you're just going to watch me drown." I leaned forward slightly, not unkind but unshakable. "No, Matthew," I said. "I'm not watching you at all." He blinked, stunned. "I stopped watching you the moment I walked out of that apartment. Your struggles, your consequences, they aren't mine to carry. Not anymore." His shoulders fell. The final collapse. I stood, slipping my laptop into my bag. The chair legs scraped softly against the floor. "I hope," I said gently, "you find what you're looking for." His eyes lifted to mine, broken, searching, desperate. But I felt nothing. Not anger, not love, just peace. I stepped past him, headed toward the door. The tiny cafe bell chimed lightly overhead. Sunlight hit my face as I stepped outside, warm, bright, blinding in the best way. I didn't look back. Some chapters end without tears. Some hearts heal without applause. And some goodbyes don't echo, they simply close. When the cafe door closed behind me, it felt like something else closed too quietly, cleanly, finally. The world outside was bright, almost aggressively so. Morning sunlight spilled over the sidewalk, warming the tops of parked cars, casting long shadows of people rushing to work, stretching across pavement like paths towards somewhere anywhere new. I stood there for a moment, letting the sun touch my face, letting the warmth soak into the places that had been cold for months. My heart didn't pound. My hands didn't shake. There was no adrenaline, no longing, no ache. Just clarity, just calm, just me. It's strange how peace can arrive like that, not as a reward, but as a natural consequence of finally stepping out of someone else's storm. I walked down the street with an ease that felt unfamiliar, like my bones remembered how to move without tension. My reflection in the cafe window was not the girl who once made Matthew coffee, folded his clothes, tucked away her dreams for his comfort. The woman looking back at me was standing taller, a little brighter, a little freer, and undeniably herself. The following weeks unfolded in soft, steady rhythms. I enrolled in the MBA program I had once tucked away like an indulgence. The acceptance email sat in my inbox, but reading it again finally felt like claiming something I'd earned, not something I had to negotiate with someone else's insecurity. I told no one at first. Some dreams grow best in silence. At home, I began making my apartment truly mine. The walls stayed the color. I chose warm ivory, not agreeable gray. I hung paintings I loved, not ones chosen to impress, soothe, or match someone else's aesthetic. I bought a small rug in a terracotta shade that reminded me of sunsets. The bookshelf assembled alone held only the stories I wanted to carry. For the first time in my adult life, I had a space untouched by compromise. No, we should pick something neutral. No, that doesn't match my vibe. No second-guessing my choices through someone else's preferences. It was liberating in ways I didn't expect. Even the silence of my apartment felt different. No longer a void, but a refuge. A place where I didn't have to brace myself for moods comments or subtle criticisms disguised as jokes. Just breathing room. I found joy in small things too. Like lighting candles in the evenings, lavender, not jasmine. Like cooking meals without worrying if someone else would approve. Like watching the river from my window with a cup of tea and no rush to be anywhere. I went sailing again twice. The second time, I stood at the bow, letting the wind whip my hair wildly, the salty air clinging to my skin. Sunlight glittered in the water like scattered diamonds. Someone asked if I sailed often. I do now, I said, and I meant it. There were moments, brief ones, when I thought of Matthew, not with longing or anger, just curiosity. A quiet I hope he's learning something from this, the way you might think about an old classmate when you hear their name in passing. I didn't check his social media, didn't stalk mutual friends, didn't linger on what if. Healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering differently, remembering without bleeding. One evening, after a long day of work, I sat on my couch, bare feet curled under me, a warm blanket over my legs, soft music drifting through my small living room. My laptop was open to my MBA coursework. A candle flickered on the table. My phone buzzed on the cushion beside me. I glanced at the screen. A number I didn't recognize. For a moment, the world held its breath. Old instincts whispered Matthew. But the thought didn't hook into me the way it once might have. It hovered for a second, insignificant, dissolving as quickly as it came. I let the phone buzz until it stopped. Then I turned it face down and pushed it away gently. Some doors are worth closing. Others are worth locking without regret. I chose myself, and that choice was the loudest transformation. On Saturday morning, I returned to the riverbank, a latte in hand, watching boats glide by. Kids laughed in the distance. A couple argued lightly about taking the scenic trail. Dogs tugged their owners toward excitement. Life was everywhere. And I was part of it again fully. I thought about everything I had survived. Not with bitterness, with gratitude, because his betrayal didn't break me. It freed me. It cracked open a door I'd been afraid to open myself. It pushed me into a life where I wasn't an accessory to someone else's ego, where my dreams weren't optional, where my worth wasn't negotiable. I wasn't a placeholder. I wasn't convenient. I wasn't basically single. I was whole. I was enough. I was becoming. As the sun climbed higher, warming my shoulders, I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. A long inhale of possibility, a slow exhale of the past. Then I smiled, stepped forward, and walked toward the water, letting the world unfold wide and bright in front of me.